Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss some interesting cases through flashcards. Welcome to Radiology Case Videos. I am Dr. Indraneel, Associate Professor in Radiology at GSL Medical College, Rajahmundry. So this is a case of a middle-aged female who presented with symptoms of vague neck pain and swelling. And on examination and ultrasound scan, we are seeing a ovoid hypoechoic lesion just inferior to the thyroid lobe. And you can see on switching on the Doppler, there is a pattern of vessels encircling the mass, and it is called a arc type of rim of vascularity. And this is a case of parathyroid adenoma. The features that are suggestive of this lesion is you can see that there is a rim of vascularity around the lesion, and this branch was arising from the inferior thyroidal artery. The thyroidal artery was also very prominent, dilated and tortuous, and is surrounding the lesion. So these are the feeding arteries, and before penetration, they give rise to this type of pattern. This is a proven case of parathyroid adenoma. This was rather an asymptomatic finding while doing ultrasound abdomen for some vague abdominal finding. As you can see here, the midline structure is the aorta, and on either side you can see two blue ovoid structures where you find the normal IVC is on this side, but you can also see another blue structure on the left side as well. So this is a case of duplication of IVC, inferior vena cava. Duplication of IVC, also known as double IVC, is a rare congenital variation. It is seen in approximately 1 to 3% of the individuals. And here the left IVC drains or ends into the left renal vein, and which then crosses anterior to the aorta to join the right IVC. This is to be recognized because it has got implications while placing the IVC filter, and also it is important to trace the IVC all through, whether it is continuation or duplication or azygous continuation of IVC, that we have to see. And for that we have to trace the entire course of the both IVCs in the cephalocorded direction. This is another interesting case. A young male presented with neck swelling. They thought the clinical diagnosis was a parotid swelling, but actually there was an ovoid soft tissue lesion overlying the parotid gland in the subcutaneous plane, and you can see it has got a testis-like appearance, ecotexture, and this is a case of epidermoid cyst with pseudo testis appearance. So these epidermoid cysts, also known as epidermal cysts or also epidermal inclusion cysts, all the three are the same. They are used interchangeably according to the location and according to their appearance and their pathology. But usually they are all the three entities are the same, synonyms, most like synonyms. Most of these are heterogeneous ecotexture, but they can be homogeneous and give rise to this pseudotestis appearance. The internal hyperechoic reflective areas are actually the keratin aggregates, and these are one of the characteristic features of epidermoid cyst. Sometimes we can also see swirling of the internal contents of the cyst, and they are fluctuant and soft. And on switching on the color Doppler, there will be no vascularity. This is one important point to differentiate solid lesions from epidermoid cyst, because the appearance sometimes mimics a solid tumor. How do you differentiate? One is you can see the posterior acoustic enhancement behind the cyst, intensely enhanced. There is intense brightness here. So this is a clue that it might be a cystic lesion. And when you switch on the Doppler, it is totally avascular. On elastography, it is soft. This is a case of a child who presented with swelling in the arm, and it was pulsatile swelling. Clinical diagnosis was almost evident that it could be a vascular lesion. And switching on the color Doppler, you can see the characteristic yin-yang sign. This is due to the bidirectional flow of blood. When the blood enters the lumen, strikes the wall of the lumen, and again exits. So this is very characteristic feature of pseudoaneurysm. Also can be found in aneurysm of the vessels. Most common location is the femoral artery, but can occur anywhere. And on this is important because you have to always switch on your Doppler. because on grayscale it can appear anechoic and mimic a cyst. So it is always important that you switch on Doppler whenever you see an anechoic structure, so that you cannot miss a vascular lesion like this. This patient presented with a headache, and it was a recurrent headache, recurrent in nature, and MRI shows a cystic lesion, cyst of the cavum velum interpositum. This is important to recognize because this mimics sometimes a third ventricular mass, and the mass effect can obstruct the ventricles and cause hydrocephalus, which in turn causes headache. So it is important to recognize this entry. It is called cyst of the cavum velum interpositum. This is a case of anterior dislocation of the shoulder. As you can see here, the anterior labroligamentous complex is torn and is avulsed, and this is called the ALPSA lesion, anterior labroligamentous complex periosteal sleeve avulsion. It occurs in 20 to 25% of anterior dislocations. The torn labrum is displaced medially and is rotated, and there is inferior rotation. Patients have more episodes of shoulder instability than with the classic Bankart lesion. Bankart lesion, you get the sleeve is also disrupted. The periosteal sleeve is disrupted in Bankart lesion. This is a child who presented with recurrent jaundice, and ultrasound, you can see this is a classical. You can see the CBD, and there is a sudden fusiform dilatation of the CBD here. And it is continuous with the CBD, and inside the dilated fusiform anechoic lesion, you can find some debris and sludge are also seen. This is a case of choledochal cyst type 1. So they are classified into 5 types based on the Todani classification. Whether the classification is based whether there is only intrahepatic or extrahepatic or both involvement is there. And the Todani classification is divided into 5. This is a case of type 1 fusiform dilatation of the extrahepatic bile duct. A case of child who presented with mass in the lower back dorsal area, and you can see here that there is a spinal dysraphism. The placode is outside the spinal canal, the placode interface, and it is merging into a fatty tissue mass on the dorsal aspect. You can see that this is a fatty tissue mass on fluid suppression, and on fat suppression images, it is completely suppressed. This is in continuity, the mass with the spinal canal, and the spinal cord is also elongated, and there is expansion of the thecal sac. In lipomeningocele, the placode lipoma interface lies within the spinal canal, whereas here you can see that the placode lipoma interface is outside the spinal canal. And sometimes it is very difficult to differentiate both. This is a case of trauma, and you can see here there are multiple lacerations in the spleen, contusion and laceration. The laceration is going through and through, extending up to the hilum. However, there is no active extravasation of the contrast material, and some of the vascularity is preserved. The main vascular pedicle is also intact. So according to the AAST grading of splenic trauma, this is classified as grade 4 injury. This incidental finding, you can see here, there are 2 narrow roots in the spinal canal. This is a case of conjoined narrow root. The importance is rather it is most of the times asymptomatic, or patient can have vague sciatica-like complaints. There are 3 signs associated with this. There is a parallel sign, fat crescent sign is also there, and corner sign. Corner sign here is due to asymmetry of the thecal sac. So these are the cases that we have for this session, and thank you for joining with me.